As I've said in a recent video, there's so many videos on YouTube that are being tagged MGTOW, or men going their own way. And men going their own way it's really an observation of the increase in single men, whether they've chosen that lifestyle or not, okay, whether it's voluntary or a result of rejection. And what it really seems to be for some men is some sort of, and I don't want anyone to take this the wrong way, some way of saving face. And so this lifestyle, whether those men have chosen it or not, that are experiencing being chronically single, it has been defined as men going their own way, but it's also something that can include married men that are seeking to be more independent despite the fact that they may currently be in a relationship, despite the fact that they may currently have children and may currently be married. Men going their own way for them is not men becoming more irresponsible and just, having kids and leaving the family, but having their own independence to where they're living their life in freedom, in addition to compromising to a certain degree to be a good father and be a good husband or boyfriend. And that requires compromise on the part, by the way, of the wife or the girlfriend. That is not going to be asking for more than what is fair. There are some people that like to control their mates and tell them what they can and cannot do, and I don't believe that that is okay. So there is a rebellion against authority right now on the planet, but it's also taking place in relationships where people are choosing to no longer be dominated, and some people are choosing to not dominate. And so that can really change things up in relationships when those men and women, those women and men have those shift in consciousness. It shakes things up just a bit. And so I do believe that the root solution is dealing with mindful relationships and addressing where they're really at and seeking to be in healthy ones and healthy friendships that are not based in fraud, deceit, control, manipulation, an inclination to be dominated or to dominate. We need to see more consciousness. Men going their own way, some men may not know why they are either in those circumstances where they're being rejected by most of the women in their own locale, and some men that associate with men going their own way may be choosing to take it on a more conscious path to where they're moving beyond desire, living more like a Buddhist, and not being stuck in attachments to our physical senses. And while I don't describe myself to be a Buddhist, there are spiritual teachings that have been left behind for thousands of years and not just limited to Buddhism that can help us make sense out of where suffering comes from, especially when it comes to relationships today where there's so much mind control, especially over the minds of so many women and men. But for the case of those that are experiencing the men going their own way path, whether they've chosen to or not, a lot of it is in response to a lack of being able to connect due to the disconnect. And the disconnect is taking place because of the widespread mind control, social engineering, and other distractions. My, oh my, have cell phones changed so much. So, off-the-grid living is something that predominantly you see men interested in, although there are some women out there that have joined their husbands, joined their boyfriends, and women aren't objects, but that is a real sign of wealth when you're a man and you're off the grid and you have a woman standing by you. That is a sign of great wealth. And those are also very sexy women that have, the desire to live basically outside of an urban cage. And there are many ways, if you're willing to haul your own water and do certain things, that you can be hygienic. And I think that there's a lot of dependence on the grid, bringing the showers, things of that nature. There are ways that that woman can be clean, but there's a lot of people programmed to think that, without the government, without civilization, without urban cities, that we would just stink to high heaven, and that we would be more prone to disease and things of that nature. And in reality, being closer to the earth and being closer to your own humanity actually boosts your immune system when you're more active, and dirt can actually be an antidepressant. It can boost your serotonin levels. There's articles that have been written about these things. So having your hands in the dirt, whether it be gardening or building a home with your husband or with your wife, you add in the romantic element, you've got a serious spark there. So I personally think that's highly romantic you know, when you're dealing with a couple working together off the grid. But that's fantasy land. That's my opinion. That's not everybody's opinion, and a lot of women out there would prefer to stay in the city, because in the city you can call 911 if there's, you know, something going on. There's certain luxuries, and there's certain ways that women's lives are easier, in some ways, in today's world, in the cities. So men are always going to have issues convincing women to join them off the grid. It's also a sign of commitment towards that man, because when you're with a man off the grid, you don't necessarily have the options of other men to date and other things to do. It's more of a committed friendship with that man. And not all relationships feature men and women that close to where they're willing to be so close together. And so that's the reality of the situation. In this shift that we're seeing, with some people choosing to become more conscious than their lower selves, the lower self that constantly seeks sex and ejaculation, female mates, partners, physical pleasure, because we're programmed in society. Keep being lustful, keep chasing that ass. Don't really build things that are concrete. Don't really achieve your dreams. Just be a slave to your senses. Now, it's not sexuality. That's not what I'm doing at all. But to highlight how some people are trapped within it, and serving someone else so they themselves are served, at least their physical senses. And they're not seeking something higher other than just that experience. So for years and years and years, people may be trapped in a web where they're doing what they need to do to keep a hold of that mate so they can continue to feel physically satisfied, but in reality not achieving their own dreams, or building their own home, or building their own castle, and actually, in a way, upgrading the quality of the mates in their life that actually respect them for creating something and not just being another slave. And I hope later on in my life that I encounter some of those women that will appreciate what I've created. Right now is more like an in-between phase for me, and I've yet to really create that castle, but it is certainly a goal of mine. So there is a connection between men going their own way, and the majority of people off the grid are single men, and going off the grid and men literally going their own way. There is a connection, and it's probably a connection that or something that we're going to continue to see in the future. And it's important that, while men need their independence, that, you know, when possible, they work mindfully with other men and women to get certain things done. It's good to have our own independence. It's also difficult long term to survive just by ourselves, and it helps to have a little support, to have a sense of community, but also to have, you know, privacy as well, to have that balance. That's all I'm going to say on this topic for now. It's something that I'm going to come back to more and more as time goes on.